field and in the economical field. When it comes to visas, the rules are the same all the time, regardless of who is in charge, regardless of what the relationship are, regardless of who the president is. And just to prove it, this is the law that I work with when I work with visas. It doesn't change. This has been in effect, this was issued in 2001. So it hasn't changed. It's been the same forever. So even when you hear about visa changes, it's not actually true. Nothing has changed. We just use this book, these laws and guidance to make our decisions. So no, US-Mongolian relations do not affect visa issuance. Good or bad, so that's just something you don't have to worry about. Let's see, what's myth number 2? There are quotas on student visas. Is that true? Quotas? I can only issue so many visas every day, student visas every day, or every month, or every year. Do you think that's true? Yes? No, it's not. It's not true at all. There's one visa category for non-immigrant visas that has a limit, and that is the temporary worker visa, the H visa. Maybe one of you, once you've finished your studies in the United States, will apply for that. There are limitations every year. Congress sets us a limit. But for student visas, there's no limits worldwide, no limits at all. No nationality limits, no monthly limits, no daily limits. The only limit is on how many people I see that are qualified to receive a visa. Okay, so don't worry, we're not going to run out of numbers. Okay? Let's see. Ah, yes, here's a good one. The only way I'm going to get a student visa is if I go to a recruitment agency or a visa broker. Obviously, that's not true, right? I mean, what I would like to caution you, there's a lot of recruitment agencies out there, a lot of brokers who do a good job. But there's also a lot of them who do not. They just think about whose interests do you think are most important to them? Yours or their own? Their own, yes. If you go to a recruitment agency, many of them will be paid for each student that they sent to a certain university. The university will give them money. So right there's a problem, right? They will only give you the names of the universities that will pay them. That doesn't help you. You should look at everything that's out there. There's thousands and thousands of good universities in the United States. And I'm sure during Education Week, you've heard about many of them. There's many resources that you can use. Don't let yourself be limited. What they suggest to you might be a good university, but it might not be what you want. It might not be the best fit for you. It may not be the best one for an MBA or academics of whatever kind you're looking for. Maybe they don't do journalism that well. Look around, please. Do your research. That's something that we look at when we do visa interviews. We need you to be a student. And part of being a student is to be part of the decision that you make as to where you go to study. Does that make sense? If you come to me and I ask you, so why'd you pick this university? And you tell me, well, my sister recommended it. I'm like, well, all right, so if your sister tells you to jump into a boiling pot of water, you're going to do that too? No. Without looking into it, without testing it? No, of course not, right? So that's what we look for in students. You need to be a real student, you need to do your homework. Also, make sure you pick the choice first. I mean, many people start looking at, okay, well, what's in San Francisco? Well, that doesn't make you a very credible student if you tell me, well, I looked at San Francisco, and then I looked at all the schools, and then I looked at what was cheap. That's not how you make a decision when you look at an academic program, right? You look at the topic first, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, what do you all want to go study? Do you have any topics that you want to study? Law. So you think maybe, I don't know, the University of Mississippi has a good law program? Maybe. What about the big ones? What about Yale, Harvard, MIT? Look at them first, see what they do. Then look at the little ones. The big ones are expensive, we understand that, and we don't necessarily differentiate between that. But when you come to me and said, I wanted to study law, so I looked at this university and I said, well, why did you like this particular program? What made this one different from all the others you looked at? If you can't answer that question, we're probably not going to get very far in this interview. All right? Okay, so another question. The only way to get a visa is if I know somebody at the embassy or if an American citizen supports my application.
False.
Completely false. I can tell you, in this country, there's only 2 people who can make a visa decision. Me and my colleague. We're the only ones. Nobody in the embassy can make a decision. They cannot influence. In fact, it's by law forbidden for them to try and influence my decision. No American citizen can tell me, hey, I know Oyun, she's great, give her a visa. Can't do it. He might go to jail for that. My colleagues in the consular section, they work with visas and students and everybody else who comes to apply every day. However, they are forbidden to influence my decision. And my decision is based on this. Doesn't matter whether I like you or not. Doesn't matter whether your family situation is good or bad or horrible. Doesn't matter if your uncle is really famous. This is the only thing that I can use to make a decision. Okay? So if somebody, for example, a recruitment agent tells you, hey, I have an insider at the embassy, no problem, I can guarantee you that visa. It's not true. Nobody can. Not even the ambassador can. No one can, except me and my colleague. We're the only 2 who can make decisions. So don't give anybody good money for that guarantee that they are lying about. They can't guarantee it for you. It's not true. That's very important to remember. It's all up to you. Right? The other thing we do is, for recruiters, agency, well, they're really good because they help me practice for the interview. We know when you've practiced for the interview. We can tell when people read from up here and memorize something. We would rather hear from you, not from the person you're pretending to be. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If you are a real student, all you need to do is come and tell me about why you picked the university, where you want to go, how you prepared, and what you're going to do with this in the future. And if you answer my questions and not tell me what you think I want to hear, then we'll be just fine. I can't even tell you how many times I've asked the question, so why do you want to study in the United States? And, well, America has the best universities in the world. Well, great, that's awesome. That's wonderful for us, and that's great for you, but that is not the answer I'm looking for. I'm looking for something more. What about you? Why did you want to go? What is it going to do to you? What opportunities will you get from it? Why did you pick that one? Did you look at English university or Australian universities? What about Canada? They have awesome universities as well. They have great places to study. I need to know why you picked America over everything else that's out there in the world. I need to know why you picked that particular university over all the other ones in America. I need to know why you picked that particular program over all the other ones that you've looked at. And I kind of hope that you look at a few, not just the one that your sister recommended. And we do understand sometimes price and location make a part of the decision, but they should not be the first part of your decision. They should be part of the whole picture, not the one thing. If you tell me, oh, I want to go and study in Iowa, I'm going to have a lot of questions for you, because, that makes no sense as a study plan. All right, when I come to the interview, I shouldn't mention my relatives who are in the United States. Relatives, uncles, aunts, cousins, brothers, father, mother. If you have family members in the United States, please tell us. We'll find out anyway. And if we find that you lied about them or you didn't tell us about them, that's not going to help your application one bit. As you know, we make a decision, or you may not know, well, we make a decision based on the interview. And if we have any doubts about your credibility, about who you are, about the truth of what you're telling us, we have, by law, to refuse the visa. So if you tell me you have no aunts and uncles in the United States and I find an uncle in, New York, how are you going to explain that? It's best to just tell me right up front. Right? Whether they're legal, illegal, it doesn't matter. You're not responsible for their actions. We're not going to hold you responsible for their actions. You're your own person. They are their own person. They made their decision. Now it's your turn to make your decision. And honesty is always the best thing. Yeah? Once we have doubts about you, it's pretty much over. You can't afford doubt. Because if you're hiding that, what else are you hiding? Maybe you don't have any money to go. Maybe all you want to do is live in the United States, you're not going to go study at all. You know, what else are you not telling me? Here's another one I hear all the time. My friend told me that he was refused because he didn't have one particular piece of paper. One particular document was missing, maybe a bank statement. He didn't bring that, so he got refused. All right, well, that is not true at all. We do not make decisions based on paper. What we look at, and I can explain this whole process to you, what we look at is the whole person, the whole situation of the whole person. Just because you're single, or maybe you haven't traveled anywhere out of the country, or maybe you don't have a lot of money, it doesn't matter. We're not going to make a decision based on one factor. We're going to look at the whole picture. And for students, what we look for is, are you a real student? Did you make your preparations for what you're planning to do in the United States? Did you prepare? Is there the reasonable expectation that you are capable of finishing the program that you're going to enroll in? Are you smart enough? Are you prepared enough? And can you afford it? And the very final thing is this supposed to be a temporary stay in the United States? 5 things. Doesn't matter about paper. You have no idea how many pieces of paper I've seen in my lifetime on the visa line. I don't look at paper anymore. I've seen so many fake papers, so many useless papers, that I'd rather talk to you and see what you have to say about your situation. That's the best way for me to figure out whether all of these 5 requirements are met. Are you a real student? Well, if you are, then you can tell me about what you're doing right now. You can tell me what classes you're taking, what's your favorite, what don't you like, which one do you find difficult, things like that. Can you afford it? Well, what do your parents do? How do you spend your time? What kind of clothes do you wear? What kind of hobbies do you have? Do you like to buy expensive jewelry? Do you go traveling a lot? All those things help me figure out whether your statements match the picture. What about your plans in the United States? Well, you've made your preparations, you looked at all these universities, you've picked one particular one. You can tell me why. You can tell me what you will do afterwards when you're finished. And whether it's a good plan. I mean, it doesn't have to be, a completely perfect plan. We know you're young. We know you change your minds. We know stuff happens. But at least you must have some kind of idea, right? And I can usually tell from talking to you whether you've thought about it, whether it's logical, whether it makes any sense. Now, the other thing I look at is, if I do send you to the United States to go to the school, will you be able to finish your degree over there? And for that, I look at your current grades, your level of English. If you don't speak English, you're going to have a hard time in the United States, because they're not going to slow down for you. Of course, there's English programs you can enroll in the US, and that's great, and they'll help you do it. But what kind of efforts have you made to get to that point? That's what shows me that you're a real student with a real plan and good intentions, and that you're smart enough to finish. And I'm sure everybody is. Here's the other thing. You're all really smart. You're students. You're enrolled in some of the best universities in the country. You can totally do this visa application process without any help. Please do not pay money for anything that you can get for free. It's a waste. We don't want you to waste your money. Recruiters, brokers, consultants. What can they really tell you that you can't get from us? We have a website, we have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter account, and you can email us. If you have a question, send it to us. I know the answer, I can tell you. I can guarantee you I know the answer. Whether, the guy on the one corner over knows the answer, I don't know, but he's probably going to take your money for it anyway. And you don't need to pay. The only fees that you should pay are the application fee for the visa, the application fee, and the service fee for the I-20, for the student I-20 form. That's the only fees. Nothing else. If anybody tells you anything else, they're lying. They're trying to get you to give them your money that you need for your studies. So don't do it. Please don't do it. All right, what's the other myth that I had? Oh, here's a good one. If I get refused the first time, never mind, I just keep going back, and eventually one of the officers will issue me a visa. Well, occasionally that happens. Maybe you were so nervous that you simply could not speak the first time. I've seen that. People shaking in fear. We are not out to get you. When you come to the interview, it's okay to be, we know you're nervous. There's a big deal. We know that. But there's no need to be scared. We're not out to get you. We're not going to be asking trick questions. You know, if you get the wrong answer, you're not getting it. We're not. We just want you to tell us what's going on. That's all there is to it. And as long as you're honest and open, we don't care if your English isn't perfect. We can even do it in Mongolian. We have translators at the embassy. If I can't understand you, that's fine. So, but sometimes still people are so scared that they simply can't get the words out. And it's very difficult to be convincing when you don't speak. So sometimes, yes, a second application, when you know what to expect, works. But in general, if we've had a conversation and I've decided that I'm sorry, at this point you are not qualified for this, my colleague is probably going to come to the same conclusion. Remember, same book, same law, same criteria. And like I said before, it doesn't matter whether I like you or not, or whether I think you're not likable, or whether I'm having a good day or not. It doesn't matter. We still go back to the law that we have to use. If I don't do that, I get into trouble. So this is something that we do, and I've done this thousands of times. So, and my colleague too, and we talk about things. So if I make a decision, chances are she will probably come to the same conclusion. So again, it's a waste of money. The better thing to do is, if you get refused, and it happens, don't worry, it's not forever. You can change it. If your situation changes, you can always come back and reapply at a later time. But if you do get refused, the thing to do is to look at the interview, to think about what really happened. Was I able to convince them that I'm a real student? Did I say something maybe that wasn't confident? Did I tell them something that didn't make any sense? Was my plan a good plan? Did I do my fact checking? If you come to me and you say, I'm going to the University of Arkansas, it's the best university in America, I'm going to have some doubts about your ability to analyze the situation, because Arkansas is a good university, but it's certainly not the best in the country. If you say things like, oh, I picked this university because it's close to a bus stop. I've heard it, I'm not making this up. This is a reason somebody gave me for picking university. I don't know. You know, I think I need a little bit more to convince me that this is the university that's suitable for you. Things like that. Think about your answers. Think about what maybe I heard when you talked. Maybe I didn't hear what you meant me to hear. Maybe you said it in a way that wasn't clear. And then wait a little time, and then when your situation is a little bit more stable, when you've made your plans again, come back then. Don't come back the next week. Because we're just going to say, well, what's different this week from last week? Mm-hmm. And probably you won't be able to give me anything big. Now, if we are, sometimes there's different types of refusals for visas, okay? There's the one that's 214B. That's everybody knows about this one, right? Every alien who comes to the visa office is presumed to be an immigrant to the United States. When you come to me, I have to assume you're never coming back. Until at the time of the interview, that person convinces the officer that they are not an immigrant, that they are in fact a temporary visitor to the United States. And that's what you have to do. I have to look at you and say, okay, well, she's never coming back. She's going to the US forever. And then you, based on the questions and the conversation that we have to convince me, no, I'm really only going to study. Then I'm back. I'm not going to buy a house over there, live over there forever. This is my plan right now. And then again, when you go to the border, you have to do this again to the immigration officer from the Homeland Security. He's going to ask you the same kind of things, maybe. Most of the time, they take our word for it that we probably checked pretty well. But it's possible that they will make you do it again. Because they're also, mandated to make sure that people who come are in fact non-immigrants and have the correct visa for what they're planning to do. All right? So this is what you have to work towards for the visa interview. You have to convince me that you're not staying forever. And based on what I told you already, it should be possible, right? Not too hard, right? No? Not too difficult? Okay, well, here's another fact. The things I want to leave you with. The US genuinely wants you to go study in the United States. We really do want you. We just have to chat first. All right? If you think of the visa interview like that, maybe you're a little bit less nervous about it. All right? Do your preparations. Really get ready for this. And the Education USA information is a great step. This is an excellent place to start. You're already on the right track. I'm very confident that you can do what you need to do. No one can guarantee you the visa. Remember that, please. Don't give anybody any money for any guarantees that they can't keep. And remember that it's all up to you. Not your mom, not your best friend, not your sister who might want you to jump in a boiling pot of water. It's you. We want to talk to you. We hear about you. We want to hear your opinion. You're all adults. You all have great ideas. You're all smart. That's what we want. Not somebody else's thoughts. And we know your parents probably have thoughts and ideas. And it's fine, even if you decide that, okay, I'll go to this university because mom really wants me to. As long as you can tell me that you also looked at other things, and if it was my choice only, I would do A, B, and C, that's fine. We understand. We understand parents. We all had them. I am a parent, I know. And the one thing, please do not bring us anything fake. If you bring me something that is not real, I have to refuse you. And sometimes, depending on what it is, I have to refuse you for the rest of your life. Sometimes for bringing something fake, for committing fraud, there's no way out. That's it. For 99 years you're banned. So you don't want to do that. I'd rather see less paper than fake paper. If you don't have a bank account statement, don't buy one. If you don't have a whatever it is, don't create one. The only things that you really need are on the website is your application form, your I-20, your passport, and a photo, and the service fee if you're going for a student visa. That's all you need. Everything else is nice to have, maybe. I probably, if you get me, I probably won't ask to see it. But it's not required. And if it's something that we want to see before we make a decision, we will tell you. And we will give you a chance to come back with this piece of paper, if it's something that we really need to see. If there's something missing, it's a different type of refusal. We will give you a yellow piece of paper and write on it exactly what it is that you need to give me before I then issue the visa. And if you get this yellow piece of paper, that's a really good sign, because it means that we want to issue, we're just missing one piece of information. All right, so don't get worried about that. All right, I think that's my message. Do you have any questions? Oh my gosh, shy people. Come on. Sure, yeah.